hundreds of thousands of millions of trillion people watching us in China right now, Japan, France, Baku, Nachik, Derbent represent everywhere. Okay. So, anyways, let's see. All right. Does anybody know what's gonna happen this Thursday night? No. Huh? This Thursday night. Anybody knows what's happening this Thursday night? This Thursday night, we're going to be receiving the Torah. We have the holiday called Shavuot. What is it? What is it called in Gorski? Huh? Asalte or asalta. Okay, so I printed for you, for those of you that can read in Russian, a bunch of recipes that are used to be used by Gorski Jews for asalte, for Shavuot. Okay? Thank you. One of them is called Fadi Shiri. Okay? It says over here in the brackets that was cooked in Derbent. Okay, for all my Derbendi brothers. What is it? It's basically malochna liposhka. It's based on milk. It's a type of pastry. Another one is called shir pilov. You know what's shir pilov? It's like sladki ris. It's a dairy type of plov, rice without meat, obviously, right? Because we don't do shiri gushti. We don't mix meat and meat together. Another one is called kilche. Okay, kilche. Это творожная запеканка. Творожный пирог kilche с изюмом with raisins and farmer's cheese. Okay, I can't wait to try all this stuff, so please make sure to cook it and invite me to your house, okay? So these are the recipes. If you want to try it, be my guest. Now, let me ask, by the way, the Gorski people are not the only people that make these kind of dishes made out of dairy products or made out of honey products, right? The question is, where's this custom coming from? Anybody knows? Why do we eat things made out of honey, things made out of dairy products, out of milk? Please, Juliana.
When they first were learning like what they can and can't eat, they didn't know like how to virtually slaughter an animal, so they weren't eating meat, so they were eating dairy instead.
Excellent. So this is the most classical reason that is being brought down. We're not going to talk about this reason. There's a lot of questions you could ask on this reason, by the way. First of all, it happened on Shabbat. So what kind of slaughter are we talking about anyways, right? Second of all, they were eating man, right? Why do they need to slaughter stuff or eat dairy? They have man for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But we're going to talk about a different reason. But that was a beautiful answer. Thank you, Juliana. This is the most common answer people give. I have here source sheets for the customs of Kavkazi Jews. By the way, guys, this is the most important class of the semester. If somebody wants, feel free to take. Okay, there's only 20 of them, so not everybody at the same time. So originally, when I gave this class about 4 or 5 years ago to a group of Gorski girls, there was only 7 Minhagim there that I was able to find sources for. These Minhagim, there's not just random Kavkazi customs. This is the customs that throughout my years of learning, my journey studying Tanakh, Mishnah, Talmud, I come across sources for our customs. Because a lot of times, with the attitude that I've seen is that people say, "Oh, this is what we do," and then somebody who went to yeshiva asks, "But why do we do this?" Right? It could be our own people, it could be some Ashkenazi random person that say, "So why do you guys do this random stuff? I saw in this and that book just that you should do just the opposite." And because a lot of our people are not educated, we say, "Well, I don't know," and you say, "Maybe you're right. Maybe I should not do this." So the prevailing attitude, not prevailing attitude, but a lot of times I find this attitude is that people don't know the sources, and they disregard the customs, or they start looking down at the customs. But it doesn't have to be this way, because our legacy is very rich. Our customs are beautiful, and our customs, a lot of them have sources, and we just don't know the sources. Okay, and as we learn throughout the years, or as we ask people, we can actually find a lot of sources for these customs. So the customs that I never brought it before, but right now we can talk about, because the Shavuot is in the air. It's on the last page actually. You see the Gorski customs part 2, the last page on the bottom. It says over there. Can I get a volunteer to read, please? By the way, what is asalta in Gorski? Huh? Honey. Honey. In our language, the holiday of Shavuot is called honey. Why? What's the connection? Honey and Shavuot. Do you ever wonder to yourself, why are people called Shavuot honey? What's the connection?
To remind us the land of milk and honey.
Okay, beautiful. So what does it have to do with Shavuot?
Torah was given.
And what? And it's honey. Okay, so if you look at the last page, okay, if I can get a volunteer, you could pass those around, please. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can get a bunch. Thank you. Alright, so there's a pasuk in Shir HaShirim. Shir HaShirim, one of the most beautiful and one of the most misunderstood books. If you just read Shir HaShirim, it's talking about love between man and woman. Right? And sometimes it gets graphical. It's talking about different things, and when you read it, you know what I'm talking about. I hope I got you interested in reading the book. Okay, this is continuation to our last week's topic. By the way, those of you that were not here last week, we talked about sexuality. Very interesting class. I feel very sorry for all of those that missed it. Okay, but so pasuk from Shir HaShirim. It says that like this: Nofet Titofna siftotayich kala. Sweetness drops from your lips, O bride. Devash v'chalav, honey and milk. Tachat leshonech, under your tongue. V'reich simlotayich kireich Lebanon. And the smell or the scent of your garments is like the scent of Lebanon. It's like the smell of Lebanon. What is this talking about? Alright, so I said originally the Shir HaShirim describes relationship between husband and wife, but all the Chachamim tell us this is one of the holy books that we have in the Tanakh, and it's really talking about our relationship with God. Right, so in a way that we can, guys, if somebody has an extra source sheet, please share with Adam. Okay, because okay. So look, Rashi is telling us like this: your lips drip, right? Those sweetness, the drops of sweetness. What are this? Of your mouth. These are the explanations of Torah. So now maybe it starts making sense for you. For me, it already makes sense that the words of Torah so sweet that's coming out from our mouth, it's like honey. Okay, so now the holiday of Shavuot is when we're receiving the Torah. We're receiving the Torah, and the Torah that we say from our mouth, that the Torah that we received from God's mouth, is as sweet as honey. So now it explains the nature of the holiday. It explains the name of the holiday that we say in the Gorski Kavkazi language, and it also explains the minhag that we have all these dishes that we eat, milk and honey. This is the pasuk. This is the source that is brought down by the books in the Penei Halacha and the Pri Chadash and others. They explain. You see, there's a whole paragraph on the bottom. Can I get a volunteer to read, please? It's the last page. It says all the way in the bottom, where you see it says after Sforno, Peninei Halacha Festivals 13. You see? A number of reasons are given for this custom. Anybody see this or no? Yeah, Ben, you want to read?
No, I just want to say.
Yeah, how about?
Okay. A number of reasons are given for this custom. Some say that this is because the Torah is compared to milk and honey in Devarim Rabbah 73. As we read, honey and milk are under your tongue. Shir HaShirim 4:11. According to another midrash, when the Jews stood at Sinai and said, "All the Lord has spoken, we will faithfully do," in Shemot 22:7, God responded with the verse, "Honey and milk are under your tongue." In Takuma Bubar Kisa, the idea is that since the Jews agreed to accept the Torah unconditionally, they would find the Torah's words as sweet as honey and milk. Accordingly, to remind us of the Torah's sweetness and preciousness, there is a custom to eat dairy cakes that are tasty and sweet, as well as food sweetened with honey, or chayot chaim,
All right, guys. Now you understand all this, all these recipes that I just started the class with, right? This fadi shiri, this made out of honey and dough, right? The other recipe, maloshny plov, shir pilov, with right, and the other recipe, kilche. All of them are sweet, and all of them are dairy, just like we wanted for Shavuot for Asalta. Okay. Any questions about this minhag? Any questions about this custom? There was just an introduction by the ways of introduction, and really, it's gonna get really intense as we go through this source packet. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns? No. Okay, how about this? You guys tell me what Gorski customs that you know. Okay, customs that are specific to our tribe, right? To our kihila, our community. Does anybody know any specific Gorski customs? Huh? Say what?
Bread.
Bread? To do what? I'm sorry? Right, speak up.
Bake the bread.
To bake bread? What do you mean? Just to bake bread?
For the holiday, yeah.
Huh?
For the holiday.
For the holiday. Okay.
Shavuot or in general?
In general. No, I'm not talking about just Shavuot. I'm saying in general. In general.
Benny Goru at weddings?
Benny Guru at weddings. Okay, excellent. What else? It doesn't have to be just about Benny. You know? I'm sorry, Benny. I had to crack this joke. I'm sorry. I love you, man. I love you. I love you. Okay. Any other? Yes.
On the destruction of the temple, Tisha B'Av, right?
Yeah. What about the Tisha B'Av?
When Gorski people go to,
Gorski people go where?
to the
Gorski people go to the cemetery. Thank you, Dani. Okay. I was waiting for somebody to say this. Thank you so much. Okay. Give it up for Daniel Alsipov. Guys, let's give him a round of applause. Woo! Okay. Thank you so much. This is the next custom I was going to talk about. This sounds like uniquely Gorski custom. We're like, if you go to a cemetery on Tisha B'Av, or what we call Suruni, it's packed with Gorski people. Where's this coming from? Why are we so obsessed about going to cemetery? So if you look at the top of this page, the same page that we were, the last page in the packet, visiting graves on Tisha B'Av, Suruni. Okay? It's the last page. It's the last page where on top of the page it says Gorski Customs Part 2. You see where it is? Okay. Can I get a volunteer to read? Yoni, you want to read?
No, me.
Huh? Havod. Come on. Na ivritie. Да. Lama yotzin lebeit hakvarot. Or you can say it in English if you want, if you change your mind. Shh. Guys, no racist jokes, please. Go. Havod.
And when did they go up to the cemetery on the last day? Again, Rabbi Levi, Bar Kama, and Rabbi Tanima disagree and regards this matter. One said that this is supposed to say, we are like the dead before you. And one said that one goes out to the cemetery in order that the deceased will request mercy on our behalf.
Okay, so this is the Gemara, Masechet Ta'anit 16a. By the way, thank you so much, Yoni. Gemara Masechet Ta'anit, they said, why do we have to go to the cemetery on a fast day? It doesn't say which fast day, right? You just say on a fast day. Why? And there are two opinions. One is Rabbi Hanina says, when we go to the cemetery, it's like we declare we're like dead people. You know, we're not bragging. We're not saying, oh, I have this and that merits. I know Hashavim lefanecha kamitim. Hashem, we're like nothing before you. We're like dead people. Okay, so this is the reminder for us to have a certain kind of mood on a fast day. The mood that should help us get into the tshuva mode and return to God, and hopefully God will have mercy on us, and the situation for which we have a fast day will change. Okay, so that's reason number one. Reason number two, what's the other reason? So, we go to the cemetery not for us, because it's going to make us feel a certain way. We go for the metim, for the people that are inside the grave, so they can go upstairs and ask God for mercy on our behalf. Okay? That's why we go to the cemetery. Now, either way, nobody's arguing that you should not go to the cemetery. They're just arguing about the reasons why you should go to the cemetery. This is a source from 2,000 years ago, Gemara. Now you're saying, okay, so it's a fast day. So which fast day are we talking about? Is that the fast day when we don't have rain for a long time and they declare the fast days for the community? Or is this the fast day like 17th of Tammuz? What kind of fast day? And Tosafot there, the next source on the page, which is only in Hebrew, I'm sorry, the Safari didn't translate Tosafot yet. One day, B'ezrat Hashem. V'yotzi'in lebeit hakvarot. You go out to the cemetery on a fast day. Which fast day? Says Tosafot Mikan, from here, Nohagim, we're accustomed, b'chol makom in every place, not just in Kuba, not just in Derbent, not in New York, not just in New York or Nashik or in Mahachkala. B'chol makom, in every place, in Germany or in France, where the Tosafot were in Europe, right, in Spain, in wherever you are, in Latvia, I don't know, where in Belarus, wherever you are, b'chol makom, lelech lebeit hakvarot, you should go to the cemetery. Listen to this part. B'tisha b'av, on the 9th of Av. So are we weird? We Gorski people are strange that we should excuse ourselves. I'm sorry for our customs that we're not like you. We're like Tosafot, we're like Gemara. We're ancient people that we treat our traditions with respect. We have something to be proud about. We have something to look and the sources for. It's all there, we just have to look for it. Because Tisha B'Av tells us that Tosafot is not any worse than the Ta'anit Tzibur that they did because they didn't have rain for all the time. Tisha B'Av is the biggest example of Ta'anit, of the fast day. So the question is not why Gorskis go to the cemetery on Tisha B'Av. The question is why other communities don't go on Tisha B'Av to Ta'anit. And by the way, if you look at the Mishnah Berurah and if you look in the Ramah, they said this is the custom. By the European Jews, they also go to the cemetery. Although it's not practiced as it's practiced by us, but it's there. And the Tisha, the Ramah and the Mishnah Berurah, it's not so long ago. We're talking about, 500 years ago, 400 years ago, 300 years ago. It's relatively recent sources. But this is Tosafot. Tosafot is, 800 years ago. Gemara is 2,000 years ago. We have, Baruch Hashem, we have a source for our custom. It's not a made-up custom. It's not a crazy custom. It's very, very legit. Okay, so these two sources I just added today, and now it is for all the people that were in my class 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I gave the original class. Okay, now we're going to get to the hot stuff. Yes, Adam.
Why do you refer to like full feminine?
Where it should be Yotzim with a mem.
I'm asking also, they call in the feminine,
I don't know. It's a good question. It isn't. Is Israeli? You want to confirm? This is the Lashon Nekeva, with the Nun Safir over there, or no? Huh? I don't know. My Hebrew is my grammar is not the best. What can I tell you? But let's say your point is valid. I don't know the answer, honestly. If this is the case, it's a good question. Okay, let's. Adam, after the class, let's sit down. Let's look at the commentaries. Okay, don't leave. All right. So now we're going back to the beginning. Okay, the beginning. Let's go through the other 7 customs that I promised you. Let's try to go through them quickly. The hour is late. By the way, one time I met a Gorski Rabbi. I told him there's a certain Gorski customs, and asked him, "What do you think about it?" He said, "Oh, it's a terrible custom." I happen to agree with that particular example. It was a terrible custom, okay, against the halacha. I said, "What about but I felt something in his tone, like he's like, nah, the attitude, I said, "So what about that custom?" So that custom is also not good. And I asked him directly, "What about in general? What do you think about Gorski customs?" He said, "Gorski customs, they either took it from Muslims or from the pagan people around themselves." And I'm thinking, so you're calling yourself a Gorski, you're not Gorski. You're either Hasidic or you're Ashkenaz, which is nothing wrong with being Hasidic or Ashkenaz. But there has to be a sense of pride. There has to be something, a sense of identity. We are Gorski, and I have to be proud of it. We have nothing to be ashamed about. We have such a rich heritage, and we have our customs are beautiful and they have sources. Okay, and I don't take my word for it. Let's go through the sources. If you know me by now, whatever I teach you, I don't make up stuff. I put it either on a slideshow, I print you the sources, because I think you should make a judgment for yourself. I'm not here to lecture. I'm here to share with you. Okay, let's go. Let's go through the first one. The first one I experienced personally when I was getting married. Okay, for all the single people here, and for all the married people, please confirm or deny. Please tell me if you had the same experience or not. All the single guys and girls, listen carefully, because this is what's coming to you. Okay, before like a night before I got married, or the night of the wedding, as I was opening the envelopes to pay the caterer, my father told me, every envelope you open, take a notebook and write down the name and how much they gave you. And I was born in Moscow. I grew up in Moscow. There's a certain Kavkazi things I don't relate to. It's like I was like that. Most of my life I went to Ashkenazi yeshivas. So some things it's hard for me to relate. It's late. I want to just get to the hotel. I want to get it over with. Just pay the guy and move on. A gift is a gift. And then my father's like, no. You gotta write down the name and how much they gave you for the wedding. And I said, okay. Tati said, my father said, I gotta listen. He's the chicken, I'm the egg. Who am I? I have to shut up and listen. Okay, so I did. And I said, okay, Dad, I'll do it. And then he says, well, you gotta listen to me. This is not the end of the story. The next step, you say, what, there's the next step? Yes, the next step, when you go to their wedding, when you go to their Brit Milah, when you go to their Shori, right? You have to bring them at least as much as they brought to you. I said, oh, that's the thing. So it's not a gift, it's a loan? He said, exactly. I said, yes.
How about inflation?
Well, how about you have to justify? No, you ignore the inflation. Unless it's been 20 years, then you have to adjust it. Okay? That's an excellent question. Okay, we ignore the inflation and the exchange rates and everything. Okay, so what he brought you, that's what you bring back. So, at least you can give more, but at least the same. So now, not every community does this, right? To say the least. Right? There are other communities that do this, but not too many. Right? This is but by Gorski's, this is of course, that's what you do, right? That's why you have such beautiful weddings, right? Which in itself is a question if we should do it. But let's say this is we should do it, right? How could you afford to pay $250, $300, $400 a plate? How could you afford this? It's only if everybody's bringing an envelope. That's the only way you can afford it, right? Unless your daddy is a millionaire, then you could you could take everybody out for dinner. But so that's the thing. So is there a source for this, or is it just a mechanism to help us survive? Is this just what we do, or there's more to it? So years later after my wedding, I was learning this Mishnah, and I called my dad and said, Daddy, you will not believe what I found. You will not believe what I found. Mishnah Baba Batra. It's talking about something called Shushvinut. What's Shushvinut? Shushvinut is this relationship.
Timeshare.
No, Shushvinut is not a timeshare. Shushvinut is that relationship when you go, look at on the bottom, for those of you that read Hebrew. Shushvinut, derech Shushvinut notel seuda vedoron lechupa v'chol imo. Right? You take a food or you take a present and you go to somebody's chuppah, you go to somebody's wedding, and you eat it with him or you give it to him. Okay, so basically Shushvinut is a wedding gift. Shushvinut is a wedding gift. So now the Mishnah tells us nigbet bebeidin. If you don't return the Shushvinut, a person can take you to court. Alright, so let's say Elvina is getting married, Chodoshka, B'ezrat Hashem, very soon, right? And right? And let's say she invites me. I don't know if she will, but let's say she does, right? And I come and I bring her a $500 gift, like an envelope, B'ezrat Hashem, right? And then 10 years later, my son Ezra is getting married, and I invite Elvina. Now she's coming with her husband, with her children, and she's bringing me $200. No, Elvina would not do it. But let's say, right? Let's say. And so I opened the envelope and said, I remember I brought to her $500, and then she's bringing me $200. So the Mishnah is saying I could take her to court. I could take her to court and say, Elvina, what? Tu ai viniste? Pinch sad $. I brought you $500. You know, brought me $200. You got to pay me the difference. But she can say to the court, excuse me, it was a gift. So I gave him gift. Okay, I could do 200. So, he did 500. Okay, so what's the big deal? It was a gift. No, it was not a gift. It was a shushvina. It was shushvina. You have to return what you got at least.
This is what in relation to what? Meals?
No, gift. A wedding gift.
A wedding gift?
A wedding gift. This is exactly, and as I was reading this, I remember my father is like, write everything down. Who brought you, how much, and when you go to their occasion, their happy occasion, return. It's not a gift. It's a deposit. It's a loan, or call it however you want. It's a temporary. You see, I say I'm not the only one. But Eliezer, when you guys got married, you had something like that or no?
I'm sorry, Medina?
There's Nikki. Yeah. Juliana, you have a question?
I feel like there's kind of a fine line between the kind of events that you have to reciprocate for.
What?
If you went to my wedding and gave me $500, and your son for a mitzvah had to get $500.
Yes.
So what if it's like a baby shower? Those also require the same amount. No. It's like there's a fine line between what.
All right. So you have to do a judgment call. You have to do like a baby shower, maybe not. A baby shower, it's not such a costly occasion. A wedding is a very costly occasion. It costs a lot of money to go to a wedding. It costs a lot of money to go to a wedding. So now, to do a wedding, you have to pay for the photographer, you have to pay for a musician, you have to pay for the flowers, you have to pay. So baby shower, it's not like this. Baby shower, you just order sushi, and you get all your girlfriends and they say, baby shower, you bring me soski, huh? What?
It could be like a grand. I'm saying, for example,
You have to do a judgment call. If it's a birthday, it's a birthday. It's not a, it's not. I know. By the way, I don't know if this would fly today, but it's not where I brought it. It's not why I brought up this Mishnah. This Mishnah, we don't pass in halacha from Mishnah. You have to look at the Choshen Mishpat. You have to look at the Shulchan Aruch. But why I brought this up is so that we're not weird, okay, guys? We're not strange. We're like we have a legit sources to rely on that are sources that are respected by all kinds of Jews, right? Like Hasidim learn this Mishnah, Ashkenazim learn this Mishnah, right? Moroccans learn. Everybody learns this Mishnah. It's a Mishnah. Mishnah is an accepted source by everybody, right? So we know we shouldn't look down at our custom. We shouldn't let other people look down at our customs. That's why I'm bringing down. Okay, let's go to the next one. Next one, also I witnessed personally. I didn't experience personally, thank God, but I witnessed it quite a few times. A beautiful custom called Girio. What is Girio? When somebody passes away, what happens?
In mourning.
What?
One of the women, they go to the burial site. Right,
Yeah.
For the men, and then one of them usually leads. From
Well,
what
I have
I've
a
seen.
question, but
Yeah.
They start doing the whole process of mourning and crying and consoling the person who.
Girio is a very, very ancient custom. Like just Benny explained, when somebody passes away, there's a woman or a few women that they start wailing. They start wailing and crying, and they say, and they're trying to comfort, and they praise the person that passed away. And it's done with the tune, right? And it's done in a very unique and specific way, right? I have not seen it by other communities. I don't know. Who? Which real Sephardim? The Syrians do it? No. Turkish. The Turkish do it? Beautiful. I don't know. Right. So it's very, very rare. By Gorskis they do it. Right. They don't do it by Ashkenazim. They don't do it by Hasidim. Right. They do it by the Gorskis. Now, where's it? You have the question, Yoni? No. Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? This giryo? Where is that? Is that like again? Is that like a made up thing? Like huh? From the Muslims, right? So just like any other, this is by the way, this is exactly what I was talking about, right? That we don't know where it's coming from, so we assume we took it from the Muslims, right? So just like by the way, in Kuba, you know, B'ezrat Hashem, I hope all of you are gonna come with us in November when you go to Kuba, when you come to the synagogue over there, you have to take off the shoes, right? You have to take off the shoes. So I'm not asking where it's coming from, right? But just to your point. Anyways, no. But this one is not coming from the Muslim. Okay.
Don't the rest of the Jews have to wear shoes when they pray?
As opposed to what?
We're different.
Supposed to not wear shoes?
We're different.
Yeah, the halacha says you should wear shoes.
Well, we don't.
In certain shoes, right, like in Kuba, the minhag over there, the custom is there to take off the shoes.
I think it's carpet.
And by the way, speaking about Shavuot, the first time Moshe Rabbeinu is by Har Sinai, right? This is while he's still a relatively young shepherd. He sees the burning bush. What does God tell him? Take off your shoes. You're the holy place. Okay, take off your shoes. You're the holy place. I don't know if this is the source, but definitely kind of makes sense. Okay, but getting back to our topic, Giryo. Where is Giryo coming from? Is this like even a Jewish thing, or like we took it from the Muslims, or we took it from the pagans? Like why are we doing this weird stuff? Like, you know, the women are crying and like they're clapping themselves like this, and you know, and like this sometimes, and do all this kind of motions. Look at the Mishnah, okay? Mishnah in Masechet Moed Katan, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Tet. Barasheh Chadashim b'Chanukah b'Purim. You see where it is, guys? It's Minhag number 2. You see where it is? Anybody wants to read? Can I get a volunteer to read, by the way? Daniel? No? Daniel? Can I get a volunteer to read? Yes, Berta, please.
Sure. I'm reading the...
It says on Rashi Hadashim. You see in a gray? Yes.
Rashi Hadashim, the first day of the new month, on which special prayers and sacrifices are offered on Hanukkah, and of her a woman may wail and clap, but must not sing lamentation. When the corpse is interred, they may neither wailing nor clap. What is wailing? When all of them wail as one, sing lamentations. When one recites and all of the others respond after her, as it is said, teach your daughters wailing, and a woman her fellow a lamentation. But in the future to come, he says, he will swallow death forever, and Lord God will erase tears from all faces, etc.
Okay. So what? I don't know if you understood. Thanks so much, Berta. By the way, I don't know if you understood what's going on here. The Mishnah is talking about two things. One is called Inui, right? And one is called Kinai. Both of these terms talking about women crying at the funeral. Okay? There's a difference between Inui and Kinai. Inui is one when they all cry together, when they all wail together, and they wail and they clap, like the Gorski women do. Or Kinai is one of them wails and then the other ones respond or they follow her. Sort of like the idea is similar like to what we do on Rosh Chodesh. Chazan says Hodul Hashem Kitov, and the whole community responds Kil Olam Chazdo. So the Kinai is like this: when there's a leader, there's a leading woman that she's singing this lamentations, this wailing, and then there are other women that repeat after her, or they reciprocate, they follow her lead. Now, the Kinai is so intense, it's so sad, it's so depressing that they don't do it on Hanukkah, they don't do it on Rosh Chodesh, they don't do it on Purim. But the Inui, which is the more easier way of wailing over the dead, it's so important that they even do it on Purim. If person passed away on Purim, they would do it on Purim. If person passed away on Rosh Chodesh, they would do it on Rosh Chodesh and even on Hanukkah. Right? When the holiday is all over the place, but they would do this giryo, this kind of wailing, where the women would sing and cry and clap. I don't know about you guys, but I find it absolutely fascinating that nobody else does this in our days. almost nobody else, right? Maybe.
Our people don't do it.
And our people still do it.
They do it very rarely.
Very rarely. You know why?
We don't have the woman to do it.
We don't have the woman to do it. What do we need? By the way, we just read. How do we fix this problem? Right? What does it say? What does it say? Teach your daughters wailing, and the woman her fellow a lamentation. Right? That right? That the women that know how to do it have to teach the girls, the young generation, how to do it. And if the young girls don't want to learn, how the older women gonna pass it over? So I encourage all the young ladies here not to be embarrassed, not to be shy, but go over to your grandmas and ask them if they know how to do it, and if they do, they should teach you. If not, they should direct you to the older ladies in our community. There's a handful, really a handful. There's really not too many that they still know how to do it, and then maybe they can teach you. Especially if you know the Jewry language, then you have that gift that not everybody have. But even if you don't know, whatever you can get, this is at least recorded. Like if you can't learn it, at least record it. Ask them to explain to you how it's done. What's the mechanics behind it? Like how did they pick the words? What is the tune? Right? This is such a beautiful ancient minhag, which is basically disappearing from the face of the earth. And if we, the young generation, the fellowship students, the leadership students, don't do anything about it, it's probably going to be gone. So girls, ladies, it's in your hands. Like Prophet Isaiah, right? Ishayahu is encouraging the ladies, he said, go ask your moms, and the women should ask their friends to teach them how to do it. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, what's the significance of this?
I'm sorry?
What's the significance?
The significance of this?
Yeah, what's the reason that?
The significance of it is that that's a respect for the dead person that's going away. It helps people to get into the mode of the funeral mode. I don't know if you know, I go to funerals a lot, partially because of my role in the community, and partially it's because I just happen to know a lot of people. And a lot of times, funerals are a happy mood. Why? Because people don't see each other on a regular basis, and now you see these friends suddenly meet each other, which they haven't seen each other in weeks or months or years, right? You meet at the funeral, right? And it becomes a social scene. So when you have these women that are actually wailing and they know how to do it, they have the potential to create the environment which is meant to be at the funeral, right? The environment is meant to be that it's a serious, solemn moment where people are supposed to think about the end of life situations. They're supposed to reflect upon their own life and say, oh, so I'm not here forever. Maybe I should do something different about my current life. So it's very significant. It's very, very important. Besides the fact that it's brought down by our sages and it's brought down in Tanakh. Tanakh, it's like we're talking about the prophets. The prophets talk about it. I'm sorry, what's your name? Sharona. Thank you so much for this wonderful question. You have another question?
Yes, do you know if it makes the neshama like have an aliyah, or there's nothing you can do with that?
Does it have to do with neshama having an aliyah? I would imagine it does, because they do talk about the person that passed away. Right? I'm sure it does. So now the question that some of you might be asking, or maybe not asking, is that according to Jewish law, men are not allowed to hear women singing. I don't know if you should I talk about this or no?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So from a halachic point of view, those of you that are somewhat religious, then you might be asking yourself, Kol b'isha erva, but the halakha tells us the women's voice is an erva. All right, we're not allowed to listen to women's voice that we know what she looks like. I once heard a story about Rabbi. I don't know if the story is true, but the point is certainly true. There was a certain Egyptian singer that he enjoyed listening to, and then somebody came to him and said, "You like listening to this lady?" And he said, "You just ruined it for me." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Until I knew what she looks like, I was allowed to listen to her voice. But now that I know what she looks like, I'm not allowed to listen to her voice." Anyways, it's a side point. So how we allow the women to sing by the funerals? If the singing is not appropriate, if a man are not allowed to halachically listen to. By the way, this is one of the questions that an Ashkenazi rabbi could ask you. He said, "I don't understand your weird customs, guys." It's like, how could you? You took it from the Muslims for sure, because according to halacha, you're not allowed to listen to women sing. So this is not a Jewish custom. It must be you made it up, or you got it from the Muslims. О, мы только что прочитали, Мишна говорит, что Гирио самый Jewish custom. What are you talking about, Rabbi? So now, by the way, the Mefarshim deal with this question. Like we have somebody Yachin. He quotes his father. He says, "The b'sha'at she'amed mutal lefanav en choshishim lehirhur." While you have the dead person in front of you, you don't have to worry about these things. It's not what the people are thinking about. They're looking at this lady singing. Even if she's good looking, even if she has a beautiful voice, it's not what the thing. It's not what they're thinking about right now. This is a funeral. This is not a Broadway show, right? This is not a karaoke bar, right? This is a funeral. Funeral is a very serious item, and people are supposed to at least to think about the death. And we don't assume that the Yetzer Hara is gonna take over the guy, and Girio. The wailing is so important, then we ignore this halacha in this particular setting. Wow. Okay. Anyways, yes.
The woman usually sings to the woman. They don't go to the men's section and start singing there.
I know those. I was just sitting in the car, and as I was reviewing the material with my son, I told him, "Do you want to see one of those? I have a recording from about 1.5 years ago." And he said, "Show me." And I showed them the recording from people that you know, that maybe you were even at this funeral or not, where she was doing in front of the men and women. And this is not the first time, by the way. It's not the first time I've seen it, huh? In what? What's I'm sorry. Girio is that wailing that we're discussing for the past 10 minutes. Okay. Let's talk about the next minhag. Guys, is that something you enjoy? Is that something you like? Is that something you wanna know more? Okay, next one again. As I was a kid, my father taught me a lot of things which I didn't understand at the time, but I did them anyways because we're supposed to listen to our parents. And one of the things he told me is that if the drink was open for a long period of time, don't drink it. Like if the water was there overnight, just spill it out. Don't drink it. Yeah, I was like, Dad, why do we do this? He's like, I don't know why we do this, but this is what my parents did, and this is what my grandparents did, and this is what I'm teaching you. Yes, Julian.
I think I heard.
What a playlist, Rabbi.
Huh?
What a playlist.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, Julian, you had a question?
Yeah.
What?
I think, isn't it if the water is open where someone's sleeping in a bedroom?
That's a different one.
No, even in the kitchen counter. Let's say you left a kitchen counter, you left a cup of water. You wake up in the morning, you want to drink. You're not supposed to drink this water. Yes. Remind me your name?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
So my mom does a thing every time like I go on vacation, she takes a cup of water and she's throwing it behind me. Is that something else?
Okay, I've seen people do it. I don't know the source for it. Okay.
Is that a Gorski thing?
Yeah, my mom does that also. Yeah.
Why do they spit in your ears?
Huh? I think that book Minhagim Kavkazi that you learned with Rabbi Sharchon, you know what I'm talking about? I think he discussed this custom. Do you recall? No. Huh? The Bukharians also do this? Yeah. Yeah, na darogo, da? Na loko. I don't know the source. I'm not familiar. Good question. Thank you so much for asking. I'll keep looking out. Yes. Any other questions? Yes.
Why do they put water people when they're going on
She just Elizabeth just asked that.
Why do they spit in your ears before you...
This one I never heard before. All right. See that? Okay, guys. By the way, that was one of your homeworks from like session number 2. When after Yehiel spoke, I asked you. I told you your homework is to compile any Gorski Minhagim that you want me to research and send it to me. You know, guess how many requests I got? You guessed it right, about 0. Okay, but please keep those questions coming because as we move on through life, I'm gonna keep my eyes open, and if I ever come across this particular source, I'll add it to my list, and then next time we have a fellowship or just another class, maybe we can talk about it. Yes. I'm sorry, Benny was first. Yeah.
Who was first?
Beni Guru. Yes. Yonchik, давай.
So you know how when a person passes away,
Yeah.
the women don't go to the cemetery the first day,
They don't go.
right?
Yes.
They don't go. Why don't the women go?
Okay, so I forgot to add it to the source sheet. I saw this. By the way, we had the girl from fellowship. She was very upset at me. Very, very upset at me. Archu, то что у нее бабушка умерла, her grandmother passed away, and then it's a man only. Right? It was a Kubinsky grandmother, and the man said you're not allowed to go. She was born and raised here with a liberal American mentality. He said, what? I'm not going to my grandmother's funeral. She was very upset, and then they started calling different people. They called me. I said, yeah, this is the minhag. He says, what's the source for it? At that time, I didn't know the source. I came across it later, as I was learning with my daughter, by the way. We came across the source. It's not, there is a source. There is a source. It's Alpi Kabbalah. I can't tell you I understand the reason, but it's not made up. Again, it's not a made up source. The women are not supposed to go to a funeral. Women are not supposed to go to a funeral. If they do, they should wait until the man leave. They should wait until the man leave. I'm talking about the gravesite. I'm not talking about
We don't know why, right? We don't know why.
It's al pisod. It's from the Zohar. Next year I'm turning 40, and then I'll be able to tell you, because once you're 40, all the books are open. Yes, Berta.
Ashkenazi women, don't they go on the first day?
They do. The Ashkenazi women go. That's their custom. They go.
Actually, the Gorski shul used to also go. Until one time somebody did something and they said no more.
I would love to know what they did and if there are any pictures from that.
Inside the grave, they said no more.
Oh, really? Okay, you'll tell me later. Yes, Benny.
Going back to uncover.
Что? Guys, give me a chance.
No, about uncovering. I remember learning
Yeah, about the water?
about the water. It's also about Kabbalah. When you keep it open and you leave them and you go to sleep, they say that the shaitim, the shindala, they go into them and that's a portal for them to come out. And that's why you shouldn't.
Okay, so this is very interesting. If you keep the water open, Benny just told us that the evil spirits enter the water, so you better not drink it. Okay, so I don't know the source for that. It sounds like it makes sense, right? It sounds like a legitimate assumption, but guess what? There's more logical explanation than that, and it's also brought in the Mishnah. You don't even have to go to Zohar. You don't have to go to the to where? Okay, look. Next source. Can I get a volunteer? Anybody who didn't read yet? Elizabeth, you want to read?
Sure, now that you call me.
If wine, that is teruma. You see? It's the third custom. Third.
Oh, okay.
You see where it is?
Yeah, it's wine that is Shema,
Yeah.
is left uncovered unless you pour it out. It is not necessary to say this, but it is.
Chulin, which is non-sacred produce.
3 kinds of liquids become forbidden if left uncovered. Water, wine, and milk. All other liquids, even if left uncovered, are permitted. How long must they be left uncovered for them to become forbidden? As long as it would take for a snake to come out from a nearby place and drink from it.
Okay, guys, what did you understand from this Mishnah? Huh? Kiddush. What's with the kiddush? Yeah. So, but if you leave it for long enough, then you're not. The Mishnah just told you you're not supposed to drink. But really, that if we're talking about halacha says in our days the snakes are not very common. You don't have to go that crazy about it. But certainly, if you leave it overnight and it's water, it doesn't cost you anything. You should be careful about it. Especially, guys, let me tell you something. First of all, let me explain what Elizabeth just read. Thank you so much, by the way, for reading. There is something called truma. Truma is only Kohanim are allowed to eat truma. It has a certain sanctity, a certain kedusha, right? So now, if Kohen gets this wine which is truma and it's left uncovered for a period of time, he has to throw it out. He has to spill it out. He's not allowed to drink it. He's not allowed to consume it. Why? Because there's a concern for well-being, for a person's well-being. Because if the snake comes and then dispose it of its venom into this cup, it's poison, a person could die. So it's very simple, very logical explanation. Is don't leave water uncovered, don't leave wine uncovered. Why? Because you might get venom in it, and you might die. Okay, so again, when my father was telling me this is the custom, don't do it. He didn't know about this Mishnah. I didn't know about this Mishnah. It took me 15 years, 20 years until I come across the source to validate what he was teaching me when I was a child. Anyways, somebody had a question or no?
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yes.
How about Gorski's go a little bit further than everyone else with the Shavuot and Minhagim?
That's excellent question.
Use it for either for a cousin or
Yes.
uncle or whatever.
Yes, I was thinking about this also. I don't have a source for that. I don't have a source for that, but I'm sure there's a source for that. It's not a weird way, that, and consider that a lot of them don't do anything else. It's a good thing that they keep these laws of mourning to the extreme, right? Let's say a person doesn't wear tzitzit, but he doesn't go to all the kind of birthday parties and all the weddings for 1 year, and a lot of those weddings that happen in non-kosher restaurants, and just think about how many sins it spared him. It's not a bad thing, honestly. It's not a bad thing.
I've heard even in Jewish sources you shouldn't make yourself too depressed.
All right.
You shouldn't be.
All right, but those sources are talking to people that keep a lot of mitzvot, and I wouldn't take it off the chart so easily. It requires research. It requires somebody really researching the subject in depth to find out if that something should be neglected. Let me tell you a story I once heard from actually Rabbi Gabriel. He said a very interesting story. There was a place where whenever women went to mikveh, right? Something we spoke about last week, little briefly, right? Before a wife could be with her husband after she had a period, she has to count 7 days. After the period is over, she has to count 7 clean days, and then she has to go to mikveh, and then she can be physically with her husband. Now there was one place. Usually this when the woman goes to mikveh, it's like hush hush. Nobody should know about it. It's a very private thing. Even in Halacha talks about it that the women shouldn't publicize it. But that place, that location, the woman made like a holiday. Like every time a woman went to mikveh, all her girlfriends came and they would dance and sing, and they made such a big deal out of it, and it was like such a public thing. He's like, yeah, she's going to mikveh, she's gonna have sex with her husband tonight. Obviously they didn't say that, but this basically was like self-understood. So there was a rabbi, I think it was Ramo actually, that was traveling to he was at that place, and he witnessed this, and he was horrified. He says, this is completely against halacha. And he spoke to the leaders of the community. You have to stop this at any cost. This is like terrible. This is so not tzanua. This is so not modest. Everybody knows about everybody else's private life. This should not be done. And then, so he was a big rabbi. He's very, very well known. People listened to him, and so they made a very strong push to get rid of this custom. And he was traveling there years later at that same location. He said, "How's it going?" He said, "Very good. We don't have this issue anymore." He said, "Very good. Okay, so I guess I helped." He said, "Yeah, but women stop going to mikveh." Women stop going to mikveh. You know what it means? If a woman is not going to mikveh, she doesn't go through this purification process. Both her and her husband get karet. Every time they have a relationship, they get cut off. Their neshama gets cut off from the rest of the nation. So he regretted so much that he made the community cancel the custom. So what we learn from the story is that we don't always know all the reasons why these customs come into place, and unless the custom is really against halacha and really is a terrible, terrible thing, we should think twice before canceling those customs. And
Rabbi Shimon always said the customs come first before halacha.
yeah, right. Right. Minhag has a lot of power. It has a lot of power. And by the way, because the Gorskis are so strong on the laws of mourning, I wouldn't be here today, honestly. And like a lot of you wouldn't be here today. Sitting in the shul, knowing how to pray, learning Torah, Why? Because when my grandfather passed away, my father took it very seriously, even though he was not religious, he never had Jewish education, but he took it very seriously. He started going to shul to say Kaddish for his father, right? And through that Kaddish, he got pulled in. Then he switched me out of public school to Jewish school. Why? Because through that year of mourning, intense mourning, he became very connected to his heritage. He became very connected to learning Torah. Yeah? It happens all the time. So I wouldn't disregard it so quickly. I think we should do a lot more research to see where it's coming from. Like, listen, I'm bringing you source after source again and again to show you that this is not empty stuff. This is very deep stuff that our ancestors has been practicing for generations. I'm going to show you other. Just be patient. You'll see other places, in other areas of halacha, of everyday life that it's not from out of nowhere. Okay, the next one, number 4.
You have a question?
Yes, who had a question?
Oh.
Yes, Uriel, right?
Yeah, you can become karet more than once? Like you can get cut off more than once? Or?
That's a good question. It's a more general question. So this.
Also, we don't know what karet is. It could be from
So the karet, the different opinions what karet is. Right, there's one Rabbi in Gemara, when he turned 60, he made a big party. And he invited Chachamim, he invited the sages. He said, why? Because now I know for sure I didn't deserve karet. Why? Because if I made it to 60, that means, according to one explanation, the karet basically means that a person is going to die young. Alright, so I guess every time he does a karet violation, he cuts off another few years. If you want to go this route, some say the karet means that a person is going to be cut off spiritually. In Olam Haba, he's going to be cut off from the source, from God and from everything. Another explanation is saying that the karet means that he's going to lose his children. Nobody wants to go through that experience, right? So karet is a serious thing. What it means exactly, there are different opinions. There are also different types of karet. If you look in the Chumash, the different wording.
Are any of them permanent?
Are
any of them permanent?
I think so. Listen, what do you mean by saying they're permanent? Can the person do tshuva? Can the person fix? They say as long as the candle is burning, you could still fix. Right? As long as the person is alive, you could fix him up. So everybody has a chance, especially if the person was not brought up in a Jewish environment. He doesn't know anything, right, or very little, or whatever he knows has very little meaning to him. He's not obviously going to be held to the same extent responsible as a person that knows what he's doing. Right? Yes, Simon.
I always feel like I don't know, if I heard this somewhere or I thought of this on my own. I feel like it's very,
Karet is what?
I don't know if I heard this somewhere or thought of this on my own, but I feel like it's also like a very practical way. Like karet is like, from the things that give karet are stuff that are very very strongly Jewish, like Brit Milah and Kippur, Pesach, and like if you don't keep those things, you cut yourself off.
All right.
Those are like things that
So guys, let me. I don't want to get off topic too much, but let me tell you something that helped me to make Judaism more a happy religion, right? Because we have all these punishments in the Torah, and sometimes they're very gloom and very depressing. But one of my teachers once said, "This is why God is so strict. It's not because He wants to punish us; He wants us to have a good life. All right? So He scares us to death, so we don't do stupid things." All right, and so we have a beautiful relationship with our wife. Like last week, if you remember the cartoon where the lion almost ate the zebra because he thought it's his steak, right? And I asked you a question: if you eat shashlik every day, would you enjoy it in a year from now?
No.
No, of course not. If a husband and wife could be together every time they want to be, after 5-6 years, they're like, okay, this is getting boring, and now they start looking to the side. They start looking for other. Entertainment, for other exciting experiences. So God doesn't want the Jewish family to fall apart, right? God wants the Jewish family to be so strong, so exciting. It's like every month is like a wedding night. For 2 weeks they cannot touch each other, they cannot sleep in the same bed, they cannot pass each other items. It becomes very intense. Like you're living with a girl you like, the girl that you're attracted to, and you can't even touch her for 2 weeks out of the month. And when she goes to mikveh, you're pretty excited. You're pretty excited for your wife. And God wants us to be excited with our relationship. God wants us to enjoy Shabbat. God wants us to enjoy our family. Look about Shabbat, Friday night. Friday night dinner, non-religious family. Where's the son? He's at the club. Where's the girl, the daughter? She's in the movies. And the third child is by the table, but what? He's in his phone. He doesn't listen to his parents. He's scrolling through YouTube or Instagram, right? He's in a different la la land, you know. Look at the Jewish family, same age kids. Everybody's by the table, no distractions. Everybody's having good time, enjoying good food, dressed up nicely, connecting to each other on a very deep level. And this week after week, now multiply this by 50 times a year. 52 times a year, multiply that over the 10 years, and now you see different kind of relationship. And God says, if you violate Shabbat, you're subject to death penalty. It's not because he needs to punish us, because He wants us to have an amazing life, beautiful life, good quality life, right? Okay, I'm getting off subject, I'm sorry, guys. Next custom is that, again, coming from my father as a child, every time by the way, when we started keeping Shabbat, we used to walk a lot together, right? Because you can't use transportation anymore. And the nearest shul was like an hour walk. So we started bonding a lot, like we were very different cultures, very different upbringing. And that Shabbat helped us connect on a very deep level. And every time we would pass bread, my father would stop, pick up the bread, and put it to the side. I said, Dad, why are you doing this? He said, this is our minhag, this is our custom. By the way, anybody else, your parents, you experienced that? No. Bread. Yeah, treating bread with respect. Not passing by. Yeah? Huh? Muslims also do it. Yes, Juliana.
My mom always told me that she didn't do it anymore, but when she was growing up and she saw bread on the floor, she always picked it up, kissed it, and put it somewhere. And I asked why. So she doesn't know.
This is exactly what happened to me. This is exactly what happened to me. My father would treat the bread with a lot of respect. If he saw it on the street, he would put it to the side. And I said, Dad, why do you do it? He said, I don't know. This is the minhag. This is the custom. Okay, and then later I came across the Gemara, Bab Mitzvah, page 23, and the Rashi over there. It says, Ein ma'averin ala ochlin. We don't pass by the food. Okay, we don't pass by the food. We're not supposed to step on the food. We're not supposed to pass by the food. You see the food, pick it up, put it to the side. Okay? Next minhag, unless you have questions. I don't want to keep you here all night. Next minhag is coming from a good friend, Eric Yevdayev. He once shared with me this idea, this source. It says by the Gorski people, at least in the days where they used to do arranging weddings with the parents of the groom would come to the parents of the girl and say, "Can our son marry a girl? Can we make a shidduch?" So the custom is, the parents of the bride, they put out food and drinks and chai and this and that, and the parents of the groom, they said, "We don't eat anything until we talk about business." Okay, where's this coming from? This is straight up from the Torah. Abraham's slave Eliezer coming to make the shidduch for Yitzchak, for his master's son, and Bituel, and the parents of the future bride, they put out they set out the food, they put the food in front of Eliezer, and Eliezer says, "No, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to eat until we finish the deal." Okay? Anyways, next one. Number 6. Number 6 is also on the same page. By the way, the hospitality mentality, all right, is that you don't ask people if you want to eat, you just put it before them. Okay, at least that's how my father brought me up. He says, don't ask. He said, do you want this, that? He said, don't ask, just put it out. If they want, they will eat. Okay, so this is also coming from the same pasuk. Torah Tmima says, "Mikan shim natnu le'adam le'echol, en tzarich she'amru lo le'echol." You don't tell him person eat. You just put it before him. Sha'arei Eliezer amar lo ochel. He told them, "I'm only going to eat after I speak." Right? After we finish talking. But we never find in the pasuk that tell him eat. Right? Because they placed it before him, and it's obvious that he is welcome to eat. So that's another item. Number 7, okay, I saved the bomb for the last, for the end. Girls, you might not like this next custom, okay? And I don't even know if I should share this in public, but I only do because it's straight up in the Torah. and a lot of people didn't like this custom. Not recently, 4 years ago when I was preparing this shiur, 4 or 5 years ago, I posted it in our chat and I asked people if they know about this custom and what they think about this custom. And everybody knew about it, and what they feel about it was very, very mixed emotions. It was almost started a war over there. Some people said this is the most disgusting thing. We took it from Muslims. Again, right? The same story. We took it from the other nations. It should be completely taken out from our midst. This is the last item, guys. So be patient and enjoy it, because this is a really cherry on the cake. Okay. So some people said this is a good custom. They did it with my family. And okay, here it is. I need a volunteer. Who wants to read? By the way, it's gonna be very, very dramatic, graphical, and bloody. Okay, Yon, you want to read? Okay.
My better half.
You better have Liora, right? Liora, please. How about?
A man marries a woman and cohabits with her. Then he takes them and a virgin returns, and make up charges against her and defames her, saying, I married this woman, but when I approached her, I found that she is not a virgin. In such a case, the girl's father and mother shall produce the evidence of the girl's virginity before the elders of the town of the gate. And the girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave this man my daughter to wife, but he has taken an aversion to her. So he made up charges, saying, I did not find your daughter a virgin, but here is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread out the cloth before the elders of the town.
Okay. Did anybody ever heard of such a thing? Huh?
So I think they call it Yengeh.
Yenge?
Yeah.
Okay. There's even a name for this. I didn't know this. Okay. Anybody wants to share their knowledge or experiences with this custom, with this thing? By the way, this source is not Mishnah. This is not Gemara. This is straight up from Chumash, right? This is Dvarim 22, 13 to 17. This is the source. And for those of you that didn't understand what's going on, this is the story. The story is the guy married a girl, and then the fancy word aversion means that he hated her. Okay, it says he married her, and then he did not like her. He found something he didn't like, and now he claims that she was not a virgin. If he claims she was not a virgin, that means when he divorces her, he should get a discount from the ketubah, right? Because the contract says that he married a virgin, and then she turns out to be not a virgin. So it's a partially it's about the money, but also if she had an affair, then it could end up as a death penalty. So now he's coming to her parents, and her parents are saying, no problem, we have evidence. We have evidence that our daughter was a virgin when you married her, and all your claims are false. And what's the evidence? Huh? They take out the cloth. They take out the cloth and they spread it out before the elders of the town. And the elders look at the cloth and say, this is the evidence, undeniable evidence. And then they say she was a virgin, either pay or stay married to her. Basically, you lost the lawsuit. Okay, you're the wrong party here.
Which parent takes it out when you put out
The parents of the daughter, the parents of the bride. I mean, that's in their best interest to protect the daughter's dignity.
In our custom, it's the husband's mother that goes and
Takes it out after it's done. No, they don't keep it.
Technically, they take it to the other party, to the other parents.
To whose parents? To the husband's parents?
The bride's parents.
To the bride's parents. So they keep the cloth.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
Hopefully they wash it without.
Okay. So now,
They make the hashid.
And then they make the fishing.
they make the hash.
Very small difference.
Okay, so now I asked somebody in my family, Mom, do you know about this? And she's like, yeah, they did it at my wedding, It's like, okay, so this is not by the way, they still do it in many families. They still do it. and this is not barbaric, and this is not Muslim. This is from the Torah. So now, if there's a few educated people sitting in the audience, some of them will tell me again, like when they teach in Yeshivot, they said, but did you look at the Rashi? The Rashi says on the spot, right there, next page, guys. And they shall spread out the cloth before the elders of the city. This is not a literate, you don't take it as it says. This is a figurative expression. They must make the matter as white, as clear as a sheet, right? So, right away, anybody who learned in yeshiva, they would jump on me and say, Ephraim, wait, this is not literal. What are you talking about? And I said, oh, thank you very much. But did you look at the Ramban? I said, what Ramban? He said, Ramban right there on the Rashi. He says, oh, let me look. And then they look at the next source. And they said, I didn't know about this. I was like, okay, glad we're having this discussion. Okay, so Ramban, as he does often, he quotes Rashi and says, you don't need, Rashi, I don't need your explanation here. I don't need you to tell me this is a metaphorical, this is a parable, this is not to be taken literally. Why? Because this is an ancient Jewish custom, right? Not a Muslim custom. ובודקים אותם והעדים משמרים להם מבחוץ והם שהחכמים קוראים להם שושבינן. By the way, this שושבינן we started a class with. שושבינן means the friends of the groom. Alright, the friends of the groom. So now this is an old Jewish custom. After the chuppah, they wait for them to finish the thing. וכאשר יפרדו נכנסים העדים שם ולוקים השמלה. After they finish their act, the witnesses go in and they take this bedding, אשר שכב אותה עליה, on which they lay, ויראו הדמים, and they look at the blood, וזה ידוע בתלמוד. And this is also known in the Gemara. So this is not some heebie-jeebie, this is not some Muslim shmuslim, okay? This is an ancient Jewish customs according to Ramban, according to Gemara, ובספרי אגדה וקוראים השמלה ההיא סודר. They had a special name in Hebrew for them. It's called Sudar, and in Gorski they call it what? Kag? Chashil? No, but the actual the custom.
Oh yeah, no. Well, the person I think that they send is called a yangeh.
Yangeh, the person. Yangeh. ולכן יאמרו הכתוב שפרשו אבי ואמא השמלה אשר לקחו מיד העדים. Therefore the Torah tells us that the father and mother should take it from the hands of the witnesses. V'amru ele bitulei biti. This is the signs of the virginity of my daughter. Okay, etc., etc. If you care, you could finish reading this piece. It's a fascinating piece. And again, we're not barbaric. We're not weird. Our customs are very, very well sourced. If you're not convinced, I'm sorry. I think I did a pretty good job convincing you. This is all documented here in the source sheet, and I hope it was worth coming and it was worth your time. Thanks so much.
The Muslims would send the girl back on the donkey. That's the case.
Yes, let's pray, boys. Please stay. Let's pray. What? This is the last class. I think we have one more, but I was told it might be our last class. So stay tuned.
Last class. Rabbi, what about